Hey everyone, and welcome to the Human Design Podcast with me, your host, Emma Dunwoody. I'm a qualified master coach and human behaviour specialist, as well as being a qualified human design coach. And I work with clients every single day to answer the big questions. Who am I? Why am I here? And what is my purpose? I also assist them to transition from the person they think they should be to the person they really are on the inside. I teach people how to actually live their design instead of just knowing it. And if this is something that you want to do too, well, stay tuned or reach out for private coaching or Human Design Unpacks, where I show you exactly how to live your design. Welcome everybody to the Human Design Podcast and of course the Transits episode. Before we get into it though, I've got something really cool and fun and exciting from my very own psychic tarot reader, Liz Zamorski. Now, Liz does a session for me, or I have a session with Liz every single month. And if you want to just try it out, I cannot recommend enough signing up for a session with her, a tarot intuitive session with her, because they will be such powerful breakthrough sessions. You know how much I love her. You hear about it all the time. So she's actually going to, again, because you all gave us so much amazing feedback, give us all a card pull for October. Take it away, Liz Zamorski.
Thank you. Welcome to October, the land of dreams and opportunity. I pulled the first two cards that came out were the 10 of Wands and the 10 of Pentacles. And I was blown away because these are very different energies. 10 of Wands is really moving on, letting yourself pack your bags and say, like, I really built this thing, but it's not for me anymore. And I'm going to take the brave step to step out of this comfort zone and move on and move up and move forward with my life. And the 10 of Pentacles is saying, and we're going to catch you there. We are going to catch you there, and we are going to put you into this vat of abundance where everything that you're feeling is amplified. So really take care with your energy this month. Let yourself step into joy, even in the hard moments. And joy can look like just acceptance of the present moment. Acceptance of what's happening in your life. Because when you amplify acceptance, we get into an abundant flow where we're accepting and being present in every single moment. We're expanding our awareness. And then we're also able to see all of the goodness around us. When we expand our awareness, we become more in tune with the fact that there are a lot of blessings in our lives. I got an intuitive message when I was looking at these cards that said, even if it's being grateful for the air in your lungs, that is a present moment awareness of how much abundance you have. And it's getting to that level this month, really getting down to the finer details of how good each moment is or how full of potential each moment is. And it was so interesting to me that these were two 10s, 10-10 energy, because that usually means the closing out of a cycle and the rebirth into a new one. And I agree with that. But also this month in October, we have the 10-10 portal on the 10th of October. And the 10-10 portal is really this magical time where we're transiting through this becoming of ourselves, this butterfly moment, this coming out of the cocoon, where we're saying, I no longer have to mask myself. I now give myself permission to step into my authentic and unique gifts. It is time for your voice to be heard. It is time for your love to be seen and shown in the world. In order to really balance this out, I have some suggestions from the tarot for this journey. There were 4 cards that came out. We have the 4 of Pentacles, Temperance, the Page of Swords, and the World card. So the World is also the closing and stepping through of a new portal, the closing out of an old cycle, a new beginning. So this new beginning energy is all over you this month. But it's saying, remember that when you build a house, you spend a lot of time on the foundation. So if you've ever watched a house being built in your neighborhood or somewhere around you, you've seen there's a lot of action going on, but you're not seeing anything above the surface. You're like, they've been working every day and there's still no house. this is really pulling you into the realization that you've been really hard at work on building a foundation. And you know how it is, like with building a house, where they're busy for a long time doing what looks like nothing. And then it seems like overnight something gets erected. And you're like, oh my gosh, how did that happen? It's because the foundation was so strong. So just keep hanging in there. If it feels like you're expending a lot of energy, or you're tired a lot, or you're really getting a lot of downloads and not sure what to do with them, there is a foundation being built. And that's why all of this energy is flowing through you. And overnight, it feels like after we pass through 1010, overnight, things are just going to blossom, and you're going to see the structure, and you're going to see it come together. So maintain your balance, maintain your focus. And there was one last message coming through saying, walk through this time as though you're barefoot. Because when we're barefoot, we have to really watch every step, make sure that we're safe, make sure that we're not going to hurt ourselves, really staying present with the journey. So that's the message for this month. Walk barefoot, let the magic happen, step into your authentic and unique gifts. Love you guys. Thank you.
Oh my God. I love that. I feel like you're talking directly to me. And as we record this, we're on holiday and I'm sitting here barefoot thinking, like, yeah, that feeling of just being present. So much I'd love to say here. However, we also have a 2-hour transits podcast for you to get into. So I'm not going to jump in. I'm just going to let you all know that everything you need if you want to sign up with Liz is in the show notes. And it's just going to be an awesome experience. So take it from me. Now I'm going to leave you here, and actually I'll meet you again in the Transits podcast. See you in a moment. Bye for now. Hey, everyone, and welcome to today's podcast. It is Transits time. Yay! So I have the amazing Jenni Crowther here with me today. Welcome, Jenni.
Hi, Emma. Hi, everyone.
It is so exciting to speak to all of you today. I am pumped at the moment because we are back in the van. We're on school holidays. This is officially my first day of holidays. And I get it that I'm working, but I actually had to move it from yesterday. And anyway, the point is we're back in the van. So if you can hear a few other noises, you might hear my family in the background. I apologize, but it is van life for the next 2 weeks and I could not be more excited. So let's talk about transit. So let's talk about what's going to go on for October. But before that, shall we review September, Jenni, my friend?
We shall. I will also say that I am also in my van on a campsite that is waking up, so it could get quite noisy here too. So let's see what background entertainment we get.
I love it.
I mean, we've literally just got on and hit record because we didn't dare trust what's happening with Mercury retrograde at the moment. We're recording on the 23rd here. Yes, 23rd where you are as well, I think.
It is,
yeah.
Yep.
So it's a pretty, for those listening to this just as it goes out and looking back, this is a pretty potent moment that we're recording in. We've just had 7,000 tech issues trying to get on. Mercury just Kazimi'd the sun in retrograde in gate 46, so it's like they're all in a line, there's like Mercury going backwards in exactly the same place as the sun in gate 46.
Okay, before we go there, tell us exactly what Kazimi means, please.
Kazimi's a cool word that basically I just hear Chani Nicholas use, but it's when the sun and Mercury come exactly together in the same point, so they align from where we are. So when we're looking at the sun, we look at Mercury being right bang.
Okay. And what does that mean for us? How does a Kazimi affect us?
Well, because Mercury's in retrograde, it's like it just amped up the effects of Mercury retrograde. So
right.
Which is what we've probably just experienced, trying to get our tech to work, and you trying to get to your destination on time. The moment that Mercury went into retrograde, I was trying to get my ferry. I'd given myself a reasonable amount of time. I got to the ferry port. There was literally gridlock around the whole ferry port. And I'm sitting there stuck in my van, unable to go forwards or backwards or sideways, just staring at the clock, think I'm going to miss my ferry. I'm going to miss my ferry. So what you've just had, trying to get
That's
where you
exactly
need
what,
to
do you
be.
know, so we literally left at before 10 o'clock this morning. So, and it's been so weird because they're also having crazy weather again in Byron. So it's pouring with rain, there's flood waters everywhere. And there's just been gridlock the whole way. And we were like, what?
Yep.
This is so weird. It's not even school holidays yet. Like, we've just split early. So it's weird.
Yeah. It's got nothing to do with the schools. It's got everything to do with Mercury, as far as I can tell.
Thanks, Mercury.
So this, because I think Mercury retrograde thus far, apart from the odd little incident, has been relatively chill. But now it's axis point right now. So I think that's why we're experiencing so much difficulty. It's also, I don't know how coherent I'm going to be for the next hour or so, because I've been awake nearly all night. Because, and it's like wide awake, like ping. I woke up at 1:30, ping. As we entered the equinox. So the equinox happened at 3 a.m. here, where I am in Europe. And which marks the beginning of Libra season. I'm Libra sun, Libra moon. The new moon in Libra in 2 days' time is like my lunar birthday, because I was born on the Libra new moon. So it's almost like all my guides woke me up this morning and were like, it's your birthday, wake up, let's stay awake for 3 hours.
Oh my God, I love that.
But it was a really profound, deep spiritual connection. It's this time now. So again, when you're listening to this, when it goes out, think back to this time around the 23rd of September, where we come into Libra season. We go through it's the equinox. We've got the new moon in 2 days, and it's a profoundly ripe time for newness, like a complete revelation or shift in gear, whatever that means for you. Whatever, we're in this, the seasons change. The new moon in Libra is all about setting new seeds, planting new ways of being, especially in relationships. So yeah, there's a lot going on right now as we're recording.
Oh, I reckon I feel every single part of that. I feel every single part of it. And it's been I actually feel like this whole year has been really transformational. And we've got some really, really big things happening and totally resonate with new seeds. We're having some really big wins that we'll share with you all you listeners very soon. Don't worry. Really cool stuff happening. So that totally resonates. And is your actual birthday today?
No, so it's on the new moon in Libra is my lunar birthday. So my solar birthday is when the sun is in 57.5 in October. But my lunar birthday, which I also,
I was going to say, I'm usually not this horrible. I might miss the day, either way, but not completely.
No. It's in a few weeks. But I also, because I was born at the exact moment of the Libra new moon, like literally within a few minutes of it. I've always been really, really attuned to that new moon moment.
Wow.
So, and of course the lunar new moon moves around, so
yeah,
that's why I consider this my lunar birthday. Like the Queen, I like to have 2 birthdays. Speaking of the Queen, that's a good segue, wasn't it?
Yeah, perfect. Well done.
So I mean, as we're starting to look back at the whole month of September, we can't really not talk about the death of Queen Elizabeth II. It's been an interesting experience from my perspective, because I'm not in the UK. She died the day after I left the UK. I was in France at the time, and then I've been in Sardinia the whole time on retreat. So I haven't looked at any news media. Like it's not been anywhere near me. If I've wanted to get involved with it, I've had to literally go looking for it, because it's nowhere in my sphere. So I've kind of forgotten about it a bit. Like, I think if you're living in the UK or somewhere where the news media is on a lot, you haven't really had much choice. That's all you've been able to look at. But as Emma said just before we hit record, she was like, please tell me you've looked at the astrology for the transits for that. And I did. Of course, the first thing I did was be like, okay, what's going on with her chart, the Queen? So I looked at the Queen's chart, then I looked at the transit at the moment of her death, or at least the moment of the announcement of her death. I can't be sure exactly when she died, but that afternoon anyway, I looked at the transits for that. I was looking specifically for activation in the central channel, because from a human design perspective, what Ra always said, that the design crystal bundle, the monopole and the design crystal, go back to the earth down the central channel. So I was looking for activations down the central channel. Now it's been a year of that, right? We've got the nodes in 1 and 2 right now. I haven't got the Queen's chart up at the moment, but from memory, she has quite a lot of activations down that central channel. Like Emma and I are both like, hang on, we need to look at it now.
I'm literally like, I'll go look at it. So I hope it doesn't, I might turn my camera off while I'm doing it.
I'm a bit worried about the technology of
you keep talking.
One thing at once.
But now I'm curious.
So Emma's going to look at the Queen's chart while I talk about like what I think in terms of the significance. So what I was looking for was an activation of the 63 and the 14-2, because that would be the route down the monopole, and the design crystal would come down back into the earth. I mean, you don't need to have those 2 channels activated to be able to pass away, of course. But I was just curious to see if that was the case.
Well, loading.
Okay. So what I will talk about is, because the Queen is more than just a person, she is a representative of an institution. I think what I'm more interested in looking at, rather than necessarily the personal planets and her transit chart, was actually the cultural planets and what they're doing. So we have, the Pluto, Neptune, Uranus, who are kind of progressively global in their influence, and then you have Jupiter and Saturn making the cultural associations between the energies that are kind of, all out here. Can't really see where I'm, but like I'm out in the stratosphere at the edge of the solar system and coming closer to us. So my observation, generally, we've talked about this already on the Transits podcast a few times, was Saturn retrograde in gate 49. Saturn representing the old order, the way things have always been done. It's 49 is the gate of revolution or tribal principles. So we spoke about this on a personal level, about a lot of us experiencing father wound, or like looking at our relationship to the patriarchy. And I think we can't get around the representation of the figurehead for one of the countries that exported colonialism around the world, and who exported this kind of it was the Renaissance thinking, this the distrust of nature, the glorification of the mind, the capacity, the human capacity for rationalization. This was one of the main exports of colonialism. It went into cultures that had profound connection to, what we in the UK would call pagan, these kind of cycles of earth and of life from a very natural perspective. And what colonialism did above all was say that was barbaric and savage to be in contact with Mother Earth, and that we should drive our lives from the rationalizing capacity of the mind. So I think the keynote for gate 49 is, I'm quoting now from the Ravi Ching, ideally the transformation of forms based on the highest principles and not simply for power, knowing what or who is needed or not for the community. I'll read that again. Ideally, the transformation of forms based on the highest principles and not simply for power, knowing what and who is needed or not for the community. And I think this is the question that now we're being faced with certainly in our country and maybe around the Commonwealth. Is the constitutional monarchy the best thing for the community or not? And it's not to say that it's not, but I think that's the question that's being raised with her death. She was, as a person, I think pretty well liked. I'm not entirely sure her son is as well liked as a person in terms of, certainly the media portrayal of him. And of course, we can't just rely on the media portrayal of somebody to get an accurate view of who they are. And the Queen died when Saturn was in retrograde in line 2 of gate 49, which is called the last resort. And those words were like, is she the last resort for the monarchy in Britain as it currently stands?
Yeah.
I've also been looking at constitutional monarchy as a option for the way that a country is run. And it's interesting, I think, that after the rule of General Franco, which was basically a dictatorship in Spain, they decided that it was in their best interests, and they reinstated the grandson or the great grandson of their original constitutional monarch who'd been ousted by Franco. So they put the constitutional monarchy back in because they decided that the monarchy plus, you know, the democratically elected government was the best option for them, because they'd seen the alternative, which for them was a very brutal dictatorship. So yeah, I don't think it's a foregone conclusion that the monarchy is going to be disbanded, but I do think it's, you know, it for sure it's up for discussion.
Yeah, and look, in Australia, it's absolutely up for discussion. You know, like we have, because at the end of the day, what you were saying at the beginning, like one of the really important things is, I think the person herself, you know, she did the very best possible job for the job that she did, and I think as a person, she was a good person. However, you know, she is also the head of this institution that has done so much damage when we think about, you know, our Indigenous people, you know, and although the Indigenous people that sort of come under the Commonwealth. So, yeah, I think it's a fascinating time in history. I know for me, in the past, that I've kind of said this, like I'm not a royalist, and I'm not all about turning Australia into a republic, but that's more because I don't think we should spend millions of dollars changing a piece of paper. You know, it's more about that than, you know, spending our money with, I don't know, changing the education system or helping the Indigenous people or whatever it is better than us trying to, you know, rewrite something. However, I think it's fascinating what you were saying, because it just sounds like this is the time, you know, this really is the time. I know in Australia, there is a lot of people, there's a lot of, dis-ease and unrest and time for change, calling for, and it's not so much independence, it's more, which it is, but there's also just this piece of we need to actually recognize all of our people and what that means when it comes to the monarchy. And I think it's, I definitely feel like it's time for us to be thinking differently. You know, what does that look like? I don't know. I think that's the question for all of us as we navigate. There was something that you said right at the beginning while I was busy looking for Queen Elizabeth's chart, and I wish I could remember what it was, but because there was something that I directly wanted to respond to, but it's gone. So you said we've got 1 and 2. With 1 and 2, gates 1 and 2 activated, the central channel, because she has a lot of the central channel, or she had a lot of the central channel anyway, but it's kind of 50-50. So she doesn't have the 24, she doesn't have the 23. The 1 and the 2 are in the transits. She does have the 14, she does have the 3, but she doesn't have the 60.
Yeah, so at the time, when did she die? God, I can't even remember what date it was. Was it around the 16th, somewhere around there?
Details. It's not my jam.
Sorry, because Uranus was in the 23 and Pluto was in the 60 up until the 4th, 5th of September. She must have died around the 7th or 8th. So that central channel had just deactivated. The 23 and the 60 they'd just, you know, Uranus and Pluto were in there. So almost the whole central channel was lit up like 2 days before she died.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that was my kind of interest in from her personal perspective.
Yeah, I think it's a fascinating time, isn't it? I feel like I'm not educated enough on the whole topic to have a really balanced opinion. So please don't form your opinions from what I'm sharing.
Well, I think like also the archetype that Uranus is bringing, and the nodes generally are bringing, you know, Uranus, like I said, it was in 23, it moves back, it's just moved back into 2. And this, so it's Uranus, which is representing the new way of doing things, the future direction, where we are headed, the you know, the unusualness, something that's never happened before. This planet has it's in its retrograde now in gate 2, line 6. That's it for gate 2, line 6. From now on, it retrogrades back through 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. it goes direct in January next year, and then it'll go direct through 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and we'll finally move on in May 2023. So in terms of Uranus's activity in gate 2, which is bringing in the new order, it's a pretty key time. It's as in we're at the peak of the Uranus activity in gate 2, and from now on it's going to fast forward in the new order. Now, we don't know what that's going to look like, but I think one thing that I find very unresourceful, to use an Emma word, is if we are kind of in this non-materialist first paradigm, as in we're in the paradigm where we understand that the quality of our consciousness, our individual personal consciousness, is co-creating the reality around us. And I think most people listening to this podcast are at least somewhere on the journey to that view.
Totally agree.
If we believe that, why would we look around at the negative manifestations in the world and be all kind of doomsay about it, like, oh, there's this and that, and it's all going to go like it's not going to go to hell unless we believe it's going to go to hell. Like, 100%
that way. My head's about to nod off my shoulders, and I think I actually think this is one of the most important points that we need to be aware of right now. Where is your attention going right now?
Because a lot of people that I love and respect and are very close friends with, it's almost like there's part of their psyche that's like, it's all going to go to shit and there's nothing we can do to stop it, and I'm going to be right about that. I'm like, why would you want to be right about that? I would rather be optimistic and wrong than pessimistic and right.
Yeah, but that's the human brain. At the end of the day, that's the way the human brain works. And unfortunately, the reason why people are more attached to being right, because you've nailed it, is because that's how they feel certainty, you know? Yes. And the thing is that, like, how we're going to thrive in this chaos and this transformation is being comfortable with uncertainty. You know, one of the things I know for me that I've learned to do over the years is I've always been able to feel the energy of the future. Now, the more I learn and discover, I'm like, okay, well, maybe I do live in another freaking timeline or dimension and I'm feeling a different future, but I know that my future feels really freaking good. So staying connected to that. And I think that this is for everyone listening, like, if there's anything that if you're looking for the one thing to focus on, this is really it, you know, focusing on, and it's not to say you completely ignore, you know, a friend in need or, you know, the challenges that are going on. It's not that you completely ignore them, but you always want to choose that you're maintaining your power, that you're focusing on, you know, the shifts, the changes, like what's going to come from this or what's possible. Because people hold on to the need to be right and pessimistic, because the human brain, in its default setting, when you've given away your power, that's where it's going to go. So it's a really, really important thing, because as you say, Jen, we're creating the new reality. We're creating the new paradigm. So the more that we focus on it, the more that we feel it, and the more that we are conscious about what the world we want to create, and not just for us, like when we think about who we're becoming, and, you know, as a personal profile, I do think a lot about myself and my journey and my family and my business and those sort of things. However, I'm always thinking about the environment that's going to be in, the people that I'm with, you know, how business is going to shift, how money is going to change. Like, all of these things are really, really exciting. And I also want to say is it's so important to have boundaries around exactly this. Like Justin being Justin, you know, sometimes because Justin has this, you know, wealth of community, gets all this different information, and sometimes he'll come to me and he'll say, oh, I've heard this conspiracy theory, I've heard that theory, I've heard this, or I've heard that, and he'll tell me something and I'll be kind of like, well, you know, me being me, if my sacral's like, oh, I've got energy for that, then I'll listen. But if I don't have energy for it, I'm going to trust it. You know, I'm just going to trust that not to listen to it, because we really are creating our own reality. And I know one thing for me, as much as it sounds weird, is like we've lived years where people have been so enveloped by COVID, not even knowing it's there. So there's this part of me that's like, we are absolutely living in different experiences, different realities, different dimensions, different timelines. And the more of us that can focus on the possibilities, the good, the, you know, what comes after the chaos, all of those things, the more we're doing it for not just ourselves, we're doing it for the collective.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly that. We are doing it for the collective. And I feel like, you know, everyone's got their jam. Some people like to listen to all of the, you know, the doomsday and the apocalyptic thinking. Then okay, that's your jam. If that feels, you know, aligned for you, then whatever. But like, in terms of my worldview, I had a conversation quite recently with someone who I love very much and respect very much, and I've always kind of almost venerated their opinion and tried to adapt. Like, really, if they say something, I listen. And actually this time I was like listening to their thinking, and I was like, I see that you see the world through that lens, but actually that is the opposite of the lens I see through. And I'm just going to have to accept that, even though we're very good friends, I do not look at the world through that lens at all, nor do I want to. I have no interest in looking at the world through that lens, because it doesn't feel good in my body. I don't want that in influencing my consciousness, because I'm so focused on creating a world where people are invested in the healing of themselves, each other, and the planet.
Yep. Couldn't agree more. And you know what I love about what you just said? And I just really want people to hear this, is that, you know, this is a dear friend, someone you love, someone you respect, and it's okay for you to think completely differently. You know, it's okay for you to have that boundary. It doesn't mean that you judge this person or allow them to judge you or change your opinion. It's okay, you know, and that, I think, is also something that we really all need to be very conscious of, is that we are all completely unique. We are all going to be creating different realities, in inverted commas. And the best way that we can steward to this new world is to just let people be who they are. Let people think what they want to think, and focus on what they want to focus on. And love them anyway, you know, and just be conscious of who you want to become and who you want to evolve. So I think that's beautiful.
And it's, you know, my need for tribal longing or tribe belonging is very deep. You know, it's like we all we want to fit in with the people we've kind of designated as our close people. And actually this was a big moment for me to be like, do you know what, we don't need to find an agreement on this. You're entirely at liberty to have, you're a clever woman, like, have whatever opinions you want, but I don't share them, and that's fine. That's actually fine. And it was a big relief to my mind to stop trying to reconcile it, you know.
Exactly. And I think, again, this is all part of our new paradigm. This is what we're like. It's that counterintuitive thing about individualism. We just had this great conversation in the car on the way up. As Justin's like, what do you think would happen if we abolished police and rules right now? So we just had this long conversation, and ultimately the short answer is we'd end up living in peace and equality and all of the things that we're looking for, you know, because at the moment we live in a world where we're told who to be and how to conform, and we have to stick to all these rules. And yes, if they just disappeared like that, then there would be chaos. But over time, we would self-govern, and we would be so much more conscious of each other, and we would be responsible, which is the thing that a lot of, you know, the industrialized world has really taken out of our hands, is responsibility. So now people think it's the government's fault, or the medical industry's fault, or the advertising industry's fault, or the media's fault, or, you know, like all of these big what's the word, all of these big industry players, or all of these big groups, they're absolutely contributing in an unresourceful way to planet Earth. But at the end of the day, the buck stops with us. So how are we interacting with those you know, those categories, those industries? And I know for me, you talk about the news and the Queen, like, I don't know what's going on, but it's because I don't consume mainstream media. I know that you don't either, but I really don't consume it at all. And I live in Byron Bay, so like the odds of things, people talking about the Queen, are pretty freaking minimal. So it's those things, like, where are we taking responsibility for the way that we interact? Like, I don't eat processed food. So when people talk about the Coca-Colas of the world destroying planet Earth. Well, I vote with my money. I vote with my body. I just don't partake in those things. I don't give my energy to those things. And it brings me back to that beautiful quote, right, of Mother Teresa's. You know, if there's an anti-war protest, she's not going to be there, but she'll be there every time for a peace rally. You know, our focus is everything.
Yeah, perfect what you're saying, really. People think they have no power. You have all the power. Like these institutions didn't get as big as they did because they made it. We gave them power, and we can just gradually take it away, you know, by not relying on them for whatever it is we've been relying on them for.
Exactly.
So that's how it will happen. I mean, I don't want to burst Justin's bubble, but it's not going to pop overnight. It will gradually, you know, because that's healthy transformation, and it's the same for personal transformation. You don't necessarily want to have a full nervous breakdown. Ideally, you want to have lots of teeny tiny little breakdowns over the course of many years to get to the same place, which will be a lot more stable and a lot more integratable. And so I'm pretty sure that the changes, although they might be quite rapid, they will at least be integratable by us as a people. We will be able to organize around them.
I agree. And I think it's that piece, like it's sustainable when we do it more slowly. And slowly is a context, right? It's going to seem slow, but actually when we look back at history, it'll look like it happened overnight. And it's that sustainability piece. It's this question even within you know, when you're building a business, all this talk at the moment, like make 10K a month and do this and do that. And this is where oh my goodness, sustainability. You know, one of the things that I know and I'm very grateful for within my business is that I've had big financial jumps in the business, but I've built it in a sustainable way so that it can continue to grow. And we have to look back to things. We have to look back to Mother Nature, and Mother Nature doesn't grow 365 days of the year. Like this is the thing we have to understand, like all of the transformation, growth, whether it's personal, business, relationship, there's going to be ups and plateaus and downs even. But sustainability is the thing that we're looking for in transformation, because that means we're going to get to the transformation.
I think the key really is from a personal level is just don't freak out when it's wintering. When your business is wintering, when your health is wintering, like whatever it is, just don't freak out about it, because if you can see it in terms of natural cycles, if you can allow that moment of clarity where you're like, oh, actually I've been growing, wow, like I couldn't have continued like that, you know, I couldn't have continued in whatever vein it is forever exponentially. No, I need a fallow period. I need to chill for a minute, you know. Anyway,
speaking of which, I'm on holiday.
Woohoo! So this is a very long rant that we both had, but
love it. Hey everyone, and welcome to this episode of the Human Design Podcast. I want to share something really amazing with you, and it's actually one of our new Millions of Millionaires sponsors. So to introduce this body graph chart software that we've been using that's been mind-blowing. So I want to welcome the amazing Taylor Jason, who is my incredible operations manager. Welcome along, Taylor.
Hi, thanks for having me.
I'm so excited to have you here. This is actually something that we implemented when?
April.
Yeah.
And this year.
We were just trialing it out because they'd reached out to us in regards to sponsoring the podcast or something like that, wasn't it? And so it kind of wasn't even on our radar, and we tried it out and we had such low expectations. And then what happened?
Well, I remember sending you a message going, Emma, why are we not using this? Because I was mind blown. You know, we get a lot of requests for stuff like that. And, you know, there's new softwares all the time. And I clicked on it, like you said, with very low expectations. And I started looking through what they can do. And I got so excited. You know, the MG in me was like, oh my God, we have to use this. And I saw the potential of it. And it has delivered more than expected. It's really awesome.
Amazing. Now, before we get into the actual numbers, because I know numbers with Taylor is a thing in our business. She loves to share all the numbers. Let's just tell the listeners exactly who it's for and what it is.
Yeah, so it's a great tool for anyone who uses human design in their business. So if you're a human design reader, a human design coach or just someone who uses human design in your business, if you incorporate it into whatever you do, it's a way for you to embed an actual human design chart tool into your website. So, if you want someone to get their human design chart, you probably send them to an outside platform somewhere, go to this website, put in your details and get your chart, whatever that platform might be. There's a couple big ones. And what's cool about this is that it allows you to put that tool on your own website and it's yours. So when someone comes and, puts their information into your website, they get their chart, and then you can hook it up to your email list, to your newsletter. You can have it linked to your own content. You can customize the reports afterwards that they get, so it's your own descriptions of what, this type is or this profile. So that's kind of what it is.
Oh my God, I love it. And it's so cool because I actually remember when Jenna Zoe, because it must be the same software that Jenna Zoe used and before anyone else. Yeah, right. And I was always like, wow, her chart looks so beautiful and it's on her website. That's so cool. So yeah, when we started using it, I was like, this is beautiful. I'm really excited that we can do it. But let's talk hard numbers. Like we have had some serious success with this, just adding this to our business. So tell everyone a little bit about the growth that we've experienced through using this.
Yeah. So since implementing it into our website in April, there have been over 4,000 people that have downloaded their chart through the website. And that's unique. That's not, someone who does it twice, because a lot of people, they'll go back because they won't download the PDF or something, or they lost it or misplaced it. That's unique chart downloads. So it's even more for people doing it twice. And it's been really amazing. It's more than tripled the size of the email list. And, you can set up sequences afterwards for people to, give them more information and keep everything in-house.
Yeah. And because one of the really big things for us is obviously human design made simple. So it gives us the opportunity to give our way of teaching human design directly to the people who want it. And I love that. I love that every single person that wants to get their chart, that downloads it, we can then support them on their journey straight away, which is of course what you set up, because you're amazing, to make sure that not only do they get their chart, but they also get this support, free content support that helps them as they're new to human design and on their journey. So beautiful. So how do people access this? What's it called? And I know that there's a benefit for listeners of the podcast.
Yes. So you can go to the link in the show notes, or you can go to bodygraphchart.com. And they have been kind enough to give the listeners of the Human Design Podcast a 50% off discount for 12 months, which is huge because it's already inexpensive to begin with. And then the 50% discount is going to put it at $25 a month. That's in US dollars. So wherever you are in the world, it'll be, a little bit different, but 50% off for 12 months. And the code is Human Design Podcast. And we'll put that in the show notes too for everyone. And one of the other things I want to say that's really cool about this chart tool is that it's 100% customizable, and it actually gives Chiron and the 4 arrows, which is what a lot of chart tools don't do that. So that's one thing that a lot of people are drawn to when they go to get our chart from our website is, oh, I can get the arrows because of it, or my Chiron gates.
I love that. It's so cool. So check out the show notes, people, get on it, because really it is such a powerful, and as Taylor says, inexpensive tool. Like it paid for itself in the first 2 days, I seem to remember, or first day, I seem to remember. So it's so valuable. And it gives you the opportunity to really build your brand and your communication with your clients. So thank you. Go check it out.
In terms of, so that's, a very long discussion about the potential catalyst that I think the event of the death of Queen Elizabeth is. In terms of the day-to-day of September, for my observation, the 636 combo, the gate 6, the gate 36 combo that the Sun Earth were just in, was really felt by a lot of people. I had a lot of messages, because obviously I'm the go-to person that gets the WhatsApp messages. Jenny, what is going on in the transits? And my response is, it's all right, it'll pass in a few days. I think the 6 and the 36 bringing up, conflict, internal conflict, external conflict with institutions, conflict with your own body, conflict with the way that life is, in my charming language, dealing you a shit ticket. Like it was that week was pretty felt. I'm going to just check the dates. 15th to the 20th of September. But I mean, where we are, he was in there. Venus just went in gate 6. Mercury's about to retrograde into gate 6 on Saturday. So we haven't finished with that process. Basically, there's a big part of Mercury's retrograde in 6 as well. So
yeah, I felt that week. God, I felt that week.
Breathe and get through it, you know. Breathe. Don't trigger. Don't be triggered to export the conflict into the world around you, I think is the thing I would say.
Or invest in it.
Yeah.
Like invest in the identity or story.
I think writing it down is probably the most helpful thing we can do. And that's certainly what I did with all of mine. I had a lot of conflict coming up that every cell in my body was like, please, can we tell them how much conflict we're in with them? And I'm like, no, we're not exporting this to anyone else. When this transit's passed, maybe we'll choose from a place of not reactivity to talk about it with them. But right now, while this transit feels so strong, we're getting written down in the diary for future reference. That is all that's happening. And so just being really disciplined with ourselves during these really strong transits so that we don't have a huge mess to mop up when the transit's moved on.
Yeah, I love that. And I just want to say, like, that's what it feels like to be emotional, like an emotional authority, you know, like this is the lesson that I've learned, you know, I've so learned that although something feels so real and so true in the moment, don't react to it, because the odds are tomorrow you won't feel that way, or next week you won't feel that way. And it wasn't just,
sorry, go on.
No, you go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say, it wasn't just the 636, Mars was in 35, so the whole planet had the 35-36 on, so everyone
oh my god, and we want to talk about it, and we want to be freaking telling everybody. Yeah. And that's really, it was funny, that's very much how things felt in my world as well, you know. And I remember having that really conscious feeling, like it was almost like, wow, my emotional wave's especially big at the moment. But I think it was just that, I mean, I have the 6 and the 36, so usually these things don't really influence me much, but I was really conscious. And there was a time, when was the Pisces full moon? Like that was another time that I was just like, it was just around when the Queen died.
Yeah, it was.
Jeepers, far out. Like that was an emotional time. And I love, like, just watching my mastermind groups, the way especially 1.0, like they're hugely connected, and watching their conversations in the Telegram group is just like, I could see all the transits playing out, like, or I was feeling something and then it was expressed in the group. It's just really amazing. And to watch everyone sort of navigate it together was beautiful, really beautiful. But yeah, it's been a bit emotional.
It's been a bit of a month, hasn't it? Yeah. And I think I then also had this, like, I had a real deep, like, moment of like despair like almost towards the end of it. I think it was the 6.6, or when the sun was just in the last line, just this like, oh my god, done all this work on myself and I still feel like this, you know, I'm still this forlorn, still feeling like no one really likes me. And it's just like,
we like you, Jenny, we love you.
You see, I remind myself with my mind, but every part of my body's like, ooh.
I get it, you know, and I think this is the thing. Yeah. We all go through these things, and it's so beautiful to hear it, you know, because I think all of us do. And you know, one of the things that I've been so conscious of recently as well is this freaking being a line 5, you know, like no wonder we don't think people fucking don't like us half the time. Because we're constantly being smashed with other people's projections, you know. And for me, being an emotional being, if I'm in my emotional low, I don't see it coming. I don't even realize it's not even mine. I'm all of a sudden going, shit, I need to mop up the pieces. What just happened? You know, and it's not till the next day that I'm like, oh, okay, I need to just calm down. You know, I just need to calm the farm. Like it's not about me. But yeah, you know, like this is the responsibility piece that we need to constantly remind ourselves every single day that we are worthy, because we are breathing, because we are here. And We have to receive those external clues, the nice comments, the DMs, the thank you, or the love of a friend, or the gift, or the whatever it is, make sure that we're receiving, because we can really feel a little bit, like, really, are they just faking it, or am I just making it up?
It's challenging. It's one of life's biggest challenges, I think, this capacity to be with yourself while your being is triggered. I got triggered big time in the middle of it, like a massive slap in the face trigger. And it took me 3 to 4 days to process it through my body. And the whole time I wanted to export it. And I have a couple of really close friends that I can export it to, and it's a safe container. And they're not going to make a big deal out of it. They're just going to hold space while I process it. So that's where I turn. It's like, I need some external support with this, but I'm not going to go to any of the people involved. I'm not going to go and say, you said this, or she said this, or I'm not going to do that. I'm going to hold it in space with my friends and wait till I ride it out. And they have to be on the same page as you. They have to be able to just be like, well done, keep going, keep breathing, not like all getting on the indignant side of the fence, because it doesn't help anyone. It's actually, you need the kind of friends that can say, what is the lesson in this? What are you grateful for about this? Thank you, this person, for bringing this to your attention so that you can transmute this energy. Like, that's the kind of friends I need in my life, because that's the work I want to be able to do for myself. But when I'm triggered, I actually can't hold that space that strongly. So I need friends to keep reminding me. So we've got a few, let me see, when does Mercury finally move out of gate 6? 8th of October. So this is not quite done yet as this podcast goes out. We've still got Neptune in gate 36. We've still got Mercury in 6. So hopefully our little chat about what we do when it's all kicking off in here is helpful for, like, just don't export that feeling until you're really through it at a physical level.
Yeah, I love that. And, the good old forgiveness method is also incredibly powerful through that process. And I know for me, like, one of the things I've got so good at is that, what's the lesson? Not taking it personally. What's the lesson? And what am I grateful for? Like, I love those two pieces as well. It's become such a habit within me. And I just encourage everyone, because it as much as so much of it isn't about you, the bits that are about you, you get to choose the meaning that you attribute. And this is a powerful way that you can bring it, lift yourself up, love yourself.
Yeah. I mean, as I said, I've been awake since 1:30. I did about 45 minutes of Ho'oponopono in the middle of the night, just because I was like, well, I'm still awake. Might as well just settle into this field and forgive myself and everyone else for whatever it is. I don't even need to know what it's about. I'm just lying there going, I'm sorry, please forgive me. Like, I don't know what I did, but I'm sorry.
Love it.
Passes the time. Anyway, so the energy now in terms of the Sun Earth, we are in equinox energy. We've got the 46, the 25. This is, some of my favorite energy. It's lucky, it's healing, it's loving. It's a good energy to kind of take a bit of a deep sigh of relief and honor the body, like really honor the body as a temple. I got a massage yesterday because I was like, after all of that emotional garbage, I kind of need some help getting through it physically. I need someone to like move the lymph so that I can actually get this out of my body.
I got told yesterday, well, not told, the advice I was had a session with my coach talking about the body, and I was talking about a bunch of things, and she was in connection to spirit, and spirit was like, okay, it's time for you to do, to be fasting. And I'm like, me being me, I'm like, oh, I do. Yes, I just started that back up again, thinking I'm so clever. And she said, 2 or 3 days. And I'm like, oh God, here comes a challenge. But okay, I'm willing, talking about upgrading the body. I'm ready.
Well, I mean, perfect timing, because it's spleen process time, like October. We can finally, I mean, we've been on here for about 7,000 hours talking about, I don't know what, but we can start talking about October. And it's spleen process. So it's amazing that you're fasting to clear your organs before spleen process.
Love it.
So yeah, let's get into it.
Let's do it.
I'm going to talk about the moon, just to mark the phases of the moon at the beginning, because we almost never do that. Just for those writing in their diaries, the full moon is on the 9th of October in gate 51, which is where it lines up with the Earth. So, I mean, what do I think this could be? A final reckoning on our perceived need to compete with each other. Like, if we can, as many of us as possible can just get past the shadow expression of the 51, this competitive, like elbows, get out of my way kind of, there's not enough to go around kind of energy. I feel like that awareness of our unity is the most like helpful thought belief. I think we kind of have to impose it. If we're not having the experience of unity as an actual experience, we have to just remind ourselves, I am not separate from that person at a deep level. They're an aspect of consciousness, so am I. They're having their experience over there, I'm having mine, but it's not competition. I'm doing me, they're doing them. End of story. So the full moon on the 9th of October in gate 51, for those of us that are possibly ripe for the picking, could be like a little helpful key to unlock that energy. And then the new moon is on October 25th, and that'll be in gate 28. And there'll be a partial solar eclipse at the same time. So 28 gate of the game player. Also in the I Ching called preponderance of the great, and it's like this critical mass energy. So I'm not sure, but because I don't know yet, but the new moon on the 25th of October in gate 28 for me feels like it might be like, you know, critical mass is like a wave that's going to crash. And I think that like when life gets big, our spirit gets bigger to accommodate it. And it's almost like people, I think generally we're concerned that we're not going to be able to handle it, that we're going to be overwhelmed, like as in we're not going to be able to handle this wave that's coming. But as any surfer knows, if you learn how to surf, then you can handle it. Like, and I don't think we ever really get more than we can handle in life.
Agreed.
I think it's a mindset. I can't handle it. I've been with people.
Sorry, go
like
ahead.
When I do like body work with people, like sometimes their nervous system fully triggers into panic mode. Their whole being starts hyperventilating, shaking, freaking out, and it's just it's the replay of a mental story, and you can override it. So I will sit with this person for however long it takes to get them down and say, repeat after me, I am safe, I am well, I am okay, I can handle this. And just constant positive affirmation to calm the mind down, to calm the nervous system down. So that new moon energy might, in 28, might be a bit of a lot, but if we just keep reminding ourselves, we've got this, we can handle this, the universe isn't going to serve up something on our plate that we can't actually chew and digest.
100%. I totally agree. And it's one of my favorite global beliefs, you know, whatever comes my way, I can handle it. You know, it's very powerful.
It's also really like logically helpful. It's way better to go into a really difficult situation with that mindset than I can't handle this. This is too much. Like, just not helpful, not a helpful belief.
Well, even if you think about it, like in its simplicity of the human brain, is that if you think you can't, you can't. Like literally, the brain won't access the information. It just won't. So if you think you can, you can. So it's that simple. And I think it's that we're moving to this time. I think it's really interesting because I've had a personal experience of this, and I'm watching as people are going through you know, mastermind, the masterminds at the moment. What I'm seeing is transformation at a speed I've never seen it before. You know, like I've seen, and it's that's sort of sped up, you know, in my time, but from how we used to change and transform our mindset and our belief systems to the work that we're doing with human design or the gene keys, like it is speeding up. And I've had this experience that I spoken about on the podcast, where, you know, some of the things that I've created in my life, I actually had an opposite belief to. And I was doing some work with Ellie Richter to balance some beliefs. And she was like, wow, it's amazing that you've created all of this because of these beliefs. And I'm like, I freaking knew it. I freaking knew it. I knew that, you know, our spirit, you know, if we can trust in ourselves and our spirit and the universe, like we can transcend even these beliefs, you know. And I'm just seeing evidence of transformation at light speed in all my programs at the moment. And I think it's all part of this big transformation we're going through and that sort of thing.
It's available. I think like anyone that's done any looking into Rupert Sheldrake's work on morphogenetic fields, the more people that are doing something, the more access other people have to it. They have this example, like back in the day when cars were invented, it was quite hard to learn to drive a car, but like the more people know how to drive a car, the easier it is because that field of information is available. And I think it's the same with this. The more of us that are doing this, like it's not selfish because we're contributing to the collective ability to be like, the more I do it, the more you do it, the more anyone can do it, because it's adding to that field of, okay, we can have healthy beliefs, we can let go of the limiting beliefs, and we can handle our nervous systems while we transform. So I think, it's like the tipping point, right? Malcolm Gladwell's book, The Tipping Point. You will eventually, we will get to the point where it's automatic for people. It won't even have to be an effort.
Yeah, I reckon our kids are already there. You know, I'm starting to see things in them that's just amazing. Anyway, back on track.
God, we get so easily distracted.
And I'm
maybe
hopeless because I'm having because it's my first day of holiday, so I haven't done anything today. I'm like full of energy and I'm talking to one of my favorite humans, so I'm like, okay, shut up, Emma. I will momentarily be quiet, please.
And I've had no sleep, so I'm basically delirious.
running on fumes.
Anyway, so October, let's get back to October, is the spleen process. Anyone looking at the wheel of the year will see all the yellowness. Anyone that wants to go back and listen in great detail, we covered these gates extensively in episode 140. The October Transits podcast from 41 minutes onwards, if you want to go back and listen to that. I'll summarize now, but just to say that that's where we went in great detail into these gates. Just also to say that it's not just the sun that's going through these spleen gates. Mercury and Venus in October are both also exclusively in spleen gates. So a lot of spleen activity. In human design, the splenic center is associated with physical health, survival, well-being, the body's ability to adapt, our immune system, that kind of thing. So it's health related, physical health related.
And
so the
fear,
gates in order.
That's the other thing. When I heard that, I'm like, so you're going to be faced with your fears this month.
Well, yeah, because what really is the ultimate fear of death. But then on top of that, we have all these other fears that associate with each of the gates. So I'll go through them just briefly now. And I think if anyone that's ever been sick, which is anyone ever, knows the relationship between physical illness and fear. Even you get a tiny little bit of a cold, the mind starts catastrophizing about the potential implications. So the fear based on physical ill health and the fears of the mind is wow.
100%. And the fears start in the mind and they manifest in the body, right? So it's that whole
it's a feedback
journey.
Loop, for sure.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I think first things first, the data is it's incontrovertible. Stress is a major cause of illness. So whatever it is that we can do this month to minimize our stress levels, I mean, always, but especially now, please do. Like, do not stress yourself unnecessarily about basically anything. Do not allow other people to stress you out. Choose not to get involved in their field of stress. If, we can't, because I think that's often the way. It's like other people around us are stressing and we're stressing, trying to stop them stressing. 100%. It's like, just back out, like just remove yourself from their field.
This is not my fight, this is not my worry, this is just have little mantras. That's what I do.
So the first two gates are going to be 18 and 48. So 18 is about correction and 48 is about like depth, but from a fear perspective, fear of authority and fear of inadequacy. I think this is really just about personal power. It's this fear of authority, fear of inadequacy, or possibly fear of the inadequacy of authority, as in the fear that the authorities are inadequate to do the fixing. Just fix it yourself.
Yep.
Like
I'm into that.
Just decide that you can sort whatever it is out at whatever level. I mean, you probably can't, unless you're actually in government, you probably can't sort it out at that level. But I'm sure there is a way around you in your day-to-day life that you can sort it out. So whenever you notice this fear of the inadequacy of authority arising, just decide, I can and I will make a difference to this, and just no hesitation, step forward.
Love it.
And watch the miracle happen. As soon as once you believe it, true.
100%.
57 then comes up, fear of the future, which is, I mean, we all know how activated my 57 is, a lot. And what we were saying just earlier about the apocalyptic thinking, fearing the worst. I think what we don't really fear the future. We fear the worst of humanity. We fear that it's going to descend into lawless chaos, and that we all have to protect our stuff with violence. Like, that is the most bullshit belief ever. It's first of all, understanding the context. That belief doesn't exist in indigenous cultures, because they are observant creatures, and they notice that when the worst happens, humans pull together. Actually, they don't fight with each other, they help each other out. They empathize with the suffering of others, and they share what they have, and they go out of their way to be caring and generous. Like in no I had a good old think about this. I couldn't think of a single crisis situation where people turned on each other. So why do we think that's going to happen? Like, since we want, as soon as you see it like that, you look at the past and you look at, okay, well, we've got this phrase in England English about blitz spirit. When the Germans were bombing for like 57 days in a row in London, there was the blitz spirit, and everyone pulled together and everyone did their best to help each other in the worst possible circumstances. You've experienced it recently in Australia with the fires and then the floods, and we all have lots of evidence that when the shit hits the fan, people pull together. Anyone that I know that's had a major health diagnosis, and I ask them about it with some retrospect, usually when they're in remission, they'll say, I had no idea how kind people were until this happened to me. And then I realized, wow, everyone is amazing. And so can we all just stop fearing the future as being this apocalyptic? Like, can we also stop engaging in sci-fi media bullshit that I can almost not watch films anymore, because most of them are built on this idea that the future, because I love sci-fi, really love it, but when it's built on this premise that it's just going to be an absolute
something's coming to kill us and we need to protect ourselves. I totally agree.
It's appealing to the worst, like the lowest possible shadow aspect of us, and all the evidence suggests that we always resonate up. So what are we even afraid of? Anyway, but again, that's my rant on that.
It's our conditioning. I love your rant. I think it's freaking brilliant. And it's our conditioning. And again, like, to use probably a metaphor that I've heard you use before, it's like we are in the birth canal right now, and where but this birth canal actually moves between, two realities, and we're coming out of this place where we used to fear each other because we're conditioned to be that way. We're conditioned to be separate. But one of the things that we hopefully enough of us are going to get our freaking heads around is that, like you say, like we're not separate. And at the end of the day, like we are Mother Nature. And what happens when there's drought? What happens when there's flood? Everything just, like, the rules change and things are taken care of. Mother Nature takes care of the planet, the people, the animals. And yes, there are losses, but this is this time that we're birthing into this new time where we have to realize that we are Mother Nature. We don't need to give our power away to something else. Like, the power lies within us. And I say, stop watching all the shit that tells us that we need to be afraid of, anything other than I don't know, where our focus goes, because at the end of the day, this is where we're at. We have this opportunity to create this whole new world. Yeah, sorry, totally ranting. Please keep going. I'm just like, yeah, come on, let's do it. Let's do it. Let's all just be like hippies again. Or at least this new version of hippies with lots of tech that takes care of the things we don't want to do, but doesn't actually run the world. That's another thing. Like, can we stop with AI is going to take over the world? Like, let's just stop with that. Let's focus on this beautiful future.
Yeah, I just feel like people look at the future based on where they're at now and they can't conceive it. Yeah. But this is normal, right? 20 years ago, could we have conceived what we're living now? No, there's no way. So the only, like, I think when people hear this, like, but I am afraid of the future, Jenni and Emma, like I am experiencing that fear in my body. It's real frequency in me. Breathe and focus on the moment. And every moment, like the next moment, is born out of the moment you're in right now. So focus on the quality of the presence that you're bringing to the moment that you're in, which is get yourself as calm and trusting and relaxed and present with your lived experience right now, and let the next moment be born out of that, rather than the next moment be born out of your panicked mind.
100%.
We are birthing our reality moment by moment. The transformation happens in the moment you're in, not in the moment that's coming. So I think I'm just kind of putting myself in the ear shoes of the listener. It's a real experience for sure, but it doesn't have to be, is the point.
100%.
And if you need more help, reach out to Emma or I. We help people through these fears for a living. So
exactly.
Yeah. And then coming up after that, after 57, 32 and 50, 32, fear of failure, 50, fear of taking on too much responsibility. Again, we never get more than we can handle. We are allowed to choose our own pace of change. Like, we are allowed to choose our own metric for success. We are allowed to set boundaries and say no. I think this fear of failure and fear of taking on too much responsibility is because we're shooting too high too much. Like we're trying to be perfect instead of being real. And the disconnect between where we want to be as an idealized perfectionist image and where we're actually able to be, the reality of our growth trajectory, is there's a gulf between them. And that's 100%. Where these fears come in. The fear of failure and the fear of taking on too much responsibility is because you're trying to leapfrog the necessary steps. So by all means have a vision, but like moment by moment, okay, I have to set a boundary around this person, or I have to actually say I'm not able to do that right now, or whatever it is.
You have to do the thing that you're actually afraid of doing, take the step in the direction that feels uncomfortable, even though you know it's right. And I think that's really important. The other thing I want to add is, again, like that shooting for the sky, that constant growth. I get that social media makes it look like everyone can do that at the drop of the hat, and it's not true. The overnight success is not true. It does not exist. At the end of the day, it's that piece. Like I know for me, I've always held a very big vision, but I'm a very in the moment person. And again, I'm speaking my design, but my gate 9 has really taught me to know those big dreams, but to stay focused in that present moment. And understand that gulf that Jenni's talking about, like we all experience that. And it's when we're not in the moment, it's when we're in our mind. So we're in the future, we're in the past. And instead, like Jenni says, like, let's just do the best to stay in the moment. And how do you do that? Well, you can feel physical things, the sun on your skin, the breeze in your hair, or, be grateful for the flower that you see, or be grateful for the person standing in front of you. Like, these are all things, especially while I was healing my mental health, when I had a mind that was going, like, even when I was meditating, it was going at 1,000,000 miles an hour. I would just ground myself back into the moment, whenever I thought about it. And that's where the power lies.
Yeah, and just the reminder to everyone that you have the choice. Like, you get to decide. Like fear of failure, no, you get to decide whether you've succeeded or not. It's not an external metric, it's an internal decision. And in terms of like taking responsibility for something, you get to decide who you take care of and when and how. It's not an obligation. It's a gift if you choose to take responsibility for something. It has to be within a boundary of something that you think you can handle. So just, again, it's the fear, all the fears of the spleen are about perceptual empowerments, I think, like changing our perception of them.
100%, 100%. And that whole, sometimes be aware if you notice that fear showing up in you, or the shadow showing up in you, then potentially it's an indicator just to say, okay, well, I wasn't listening to my strategy and authority. I think that 50 is a great example. Like, maybe you have taken on way too much responsibility because it was meant to be a no. So it's that piece, like everything comes back to strategy and authority. And I think this is one of the things I love about seeing, all my clients going through these programs, is this like, oh my goodness, I saw that my shadow come up and I just looked at it like it wasn't anymore their identity, who they were. It was just like, oh, there it is. And it no longer governed the choices. So yeah, absolutely. Bring your awareness to it and then make the choice.
Yeah. And then the final pair in the spleen, the 28 and the 44, fear of life having no purpose or not achieving your purpose in life. And then the fear of the past repeating itself, or past catching up with you. And if we take these as a combination, I've done this quite a lot with these fears, the combination of, maybe in the past, you didn't realize the purpose of life before you died, assuming you believe in multiple incarnations, which I do. Maybe there is that fear, this hangover of, I didn't realize what life was about. I have to figure it out this time. And again, we're looking outside ourselves for some kind of external purpose to be a box to be ticked, right? Yeah, tick, figured out the purpose, the meaning of life. But the truth is, you're already the purpose. You don't have to do anything. You are the purpose.
Yep, you're in the meat suit. There's the purpose. You've combined.
You're in the green room. Tick. You've got the golden ticket. Well done. You're here. Yep. It's an illusion, that the smoke and mirrors of seeking something outside of ourselves as purpose. I don't know if anyone listening has ever read The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Literally the best books ever written.
Oh my God, so good.
But the whole joke of like deep thought, they create this supercomputer to figure out the meaning of life, the answer to the meaning of life, and it spits out the answer, and the answer is 42.
Yeah.
And they're like, what the hell? We've waited eons, generations for this answer, and the answer is 42. And then deep thought is like, yeah, but what's the question? And the whole point being that the question's more important than the answer. The questioning, the inquiry is what the purpose of life is.
Yeah. So good.
Yeah.
I love it. And
so
it's go ahead.
Go on. No, you.
I was just going to say, it's something that, I feel like human design's really helped me with this question, like, what is my purpose? Because I was always hunting for it. And what I think is crazy amazing is, and this is what I say all the time now, is I know I'm on purpose because I can feel it. But if you ask me to tell you in 3 words, I've got no idea, and it's that piece of, I can tell you through my gene keys, I can tell you through my human design, I can pull all those things in, but all those words that my mind has now attributed to those feelings, they're not as powerful as the feeling that I feel in my heart, and I know I'm on purpose, and that's what it's all about.
Yeah. That's
it's not
exactly
to say those words have helped me get there, but this is the piece, like, it's a feeling.
It is a feeling. Even in the depths of the confusion that you don't know your purpose, that is still the purpose.
Yeah, far out. I could go into so many. Yes, because I went through so much chaos. Exactly. So much chaos, so much challenge, so many difficult times, so many, like, I look back and I tell my purpose story so often these days. And I think about these pivotal moments where I've asked the universe, show me my purpose. And it's almost like I could feel the universe like slapping her forehead, like, you're doing it, you're being it right now. And, it's like, just because you're willing to be on the journey, you are willing to look into the face of your fears and keep moving. And then because I've done those things, my purpose which for me just feels like a shedding of my conditioning and an aligning to my purpose. And yes, as I say, I can bring lots of words to it. I can work with it in a very three-dimensional, on the material plane, build a business with it. But it's this feeling. It's the feeling that I get when I'm following strategy and authority, when I'm following spirit. That's it.
Yeah. And I mean, I think it's helpful for you certainly to be able to articulate your purpose, but I think also it can perhaps lead to other people to be like, but I can't articulate my purpose. And I think what you're saying is, it doesn't matter. The point is, feel it. It's not that the words are extra, like the cherry on the sundae. It's like, they're not the sundae. That, like, the ice cream and the cream and the sauce is the thing, not the words that describe it.
100%. And you know what? That just came to mind when you were saying that. Like, if you're out there and you're listening to this and you're like I used to be and saying, well, that's all well and good, but how do I do that? Trust yourself. Trust you, trust the universe. How do you do that? Strategy, authority. That is really the pivotal part of it. Yeah,
it is. And on that, that's also made me think of something that when we do that, when, like Emma's slogan, let's call it your slogan, be your own guru. When you do that, you will be met probably by resistance from the universe. As you start to step into your own path, we had a little discussion about this on the Telegram group for the Mastermind 2.0 about how actually hard it is to step into your purpose, because you do it, you get all brave and you go out there and you be your own guru and you show the world how different you are, and the world smacks you in the face and go, get back in your box, lady. And you have to just stand there, take the slap and be like, well, I'm not getting back in my box. I'm gonna that slap is not gonna put me back to being subservient, following other people's whatever. That came from a place of authenticity, but I'm just gonna like highlight that it might not be well received and all the time, because the conditioning field that you've built around yourself that says it's not safe to be yourself, it's not safe to be authentic, it's not safe to be your own guru, will make itself known for you to step past it.
100%. And I wish I could remember the name of it. It's actually one of the universal laws. And when I read this law, I'm like, are you shitting me? I've literally been teaching this for years. It's what I call the crescendo. And at the end of the day, that moment where you step out, the moment you step out, the universe says, brilliant, you're here. There's all this stuff we need to cleanse out. There's all this stuff, like these things that you actually have to face so that you can transform. And so often, and this is what I hear, especially private clients that go through it, they're like, and friends, that they will be in tears. They'll be beside themselves going, oh my God, I thought I did all this work. I've done all the work. It's the crescendo. It's the big scream before the baby falls asleep. It's the big thing that if you just don't quit now, you will transform. So trust it when you perceive you're getting that slap in the face, because it's actually the universe going, come on, we're here. It's the last thing. So like I've learned to really jump into that.
It's just a slap. They haven't like amputated your legs. You can still keep walking.
Yeah. And the magic is just there. It's just the other side. And this is what I say to people all the time. Literally said it in, I think, almost all my mastermind calls this week. Like, this is where most people quit. Don't freaking quit. Don't tell yourself, oh, I'm not in alignment, I must be doing something wrong. Don't. You're perfect. You're absolutely perfectly imperfect. You're just where you need to be. Keep going, keep going, keep going. Because that is where all those people that you see that have the life that you perceive that you want, that's what they've learned how to do, to stay true in that moment. Yeah.
And it's like, you just have a moment of reflection. What place was that coming from me? And what if you're like, that came from a place of me being brave enough to express myself authentically. If that's the answer, that's all you need to know.
100%. And if you're anything like me, it's just falling down, making more mistakes, and then going, oh yeah, got it.
Anyway, so that's the Sun Earth. Go and listen. If you've got any more capacity to listen to any more anything, go back and listen to 140 from 40 minutes on for more detail on those gates. And then from our perspective, we're going to look at, we've got 2 more months left of the nodes where they are. So I thought it might be helpful to just have a little look at the nodes from a gene keys perspective. So the south node is in 1, the north node is in 2, and this is a trajectory. Generally, we say the nodes offer a trajectory from here to there. Like in our chart, it's like usually pre-Uranus opposition, post-Uranus opposition. This trajectory, we come in with this energy, we're kind of good with it. We're moving towards that energy, we need to learn it. And so for looking at that from a nodal perspective, what are we good at? 1, yang, masculine. Nailed it.
Well, we've done a lot of it. And now we're actually starting to learn.
Yeah. Where are we moving towards? 2, yin, reception, receiving. So if we look at the this is something that's been playing in my consciousness all week, really, thinking about recording this podcast. From the Gene Keys perspective, I went back and reread the 1 and the 2. 1 is the code for creating life. 2 is the code for directing the creation, the life, whatever has been created, i.e., and these are Richard Rudd's words, it's the women who are in charge. It's the feminine principle that the masculine is in service to. The feminine drives the trajectory. It basically directs where life should go.
Can I just say something?
We're not really there.
This is this is the thing that's crazy to me, because I remember reading that and instantly it reminded me of when I first started working in advertising. And the whole principle was you have to convert the woman, because the woman, the wife, the partner is the decision maker. And I remember thinking back then, like, well, then why do we get no respect? Like, why does no one treat us that way? And I think this is crazy that it's been sitting here. It's in our world. It's just that it's been repressed. It's been pushed down. So we know it's happening, but we don't want anyone to know it's happening, if that makes sense. Yeah, exactly that. Like it's been hidden. That influence has been hidden and lied about and denigrated and like mocked. You know, that the kind of the old school male comedian who'll make jokes about, you know, the wife wearing the trousers, all of that stuff. They say it like it's a bad thing, right? Yeah.
Rather than the most natural thing in the world for women to direct the creative direction. Not necessarily women, but the feminine principle, because the feminine principle is deeply in connection with all things.
Exactly.
Like the whole, this holistic thing. Because this has been on my mind, I've been looking for evidence of it. And my phraseology that I use in my life is where the masculine is in service to the feminine. And I had a whole day of it yesterday. I had, a session with Bob Rancliffe, who I do the emotion code work with. I then went for a massage, and the massage therapist was this amazing Italian guy who did the best body work. Like, he was so good. It's like I was giving myself a massage, because I'm a really good massage therapist. And it's kind of quite frustrating for me often going for a massage, because I'm like, oh God, I wish I could just massage myself. I went for this massage with this guy, Fabrizio, and it was like me doing me. It was, and it was and something else happened. There was a whole day where the masculine was in service to me, the feminine, and my healing, right? And I just think if you look for it, if you look for evidence of it in your life, you'll see it everywhere. If we can get past the patriarchal, the men are just controlling us. Actually, no, there's a lot of masculine in service to the feminine. And then, of course, that comes inside, where the mind becomes in service to the body. And that's the whole deal with human design.
Exactly.
But your mind has to be in service to the body.
And you know what? That also brings us back to that point that we were talking about earlier, like choose to see where the masculine is in service to the feminine, as opposed to getting stuck with the patriarchy fucked us up. Like we can appreciate that there's been stuff that hasn't worked out. Absolutely. We are not taking anything away from that. However, let's focus on what we want to grow, and I think that that's the perfect thing. Like when you're speaking, I just think, Jesus, that's my family, like my boys, all of them treat me like a goddess, before I did a lot of my work, I was the slave. And now I'm the goddess, and it's crazy ass. And it wasn't them that changed. It was me that valued me, and this is what I really, instead of us pointing fingers, one pointing out, 3 pointing back business, if we're taking full responsibility, then we can grow this because we're paying attention to the masculine in service to the feminine. I love that. I'm going to take it on board. I'm going to tell it. I'm going to say it everywhere. I'll give you credit. I promise.
I don't know if I originated it. I don't know where.
No, but it doesn't matter. I'm pretty sure I didn't originate be your own guru either. But I just say it all the time.
So looking at the energies of the nodes from the perspective of the gene keys, the 2 shadows, it's helpful to be aware of the shadows before we move into the gifts, right? Entropy is the shadow of the 1. Depressive or frenetic is the repressive reactive nature. So entropy, I think, is a word that not many people even know what it means, unless you're a science person. So I looked it up for us all. The definition I'm taking is entropy is a measure of the disorder or unavailability of energy within a closed system. In other words, lack mentality. This entropy of there's a finite amount of energy, so we have to restrict access to it. And I
Jesus,
think
that sounds familiar.
I think you all know where this is going.
Yeah.
The other physical truth that energy is everything, and it can never be created or destroyed, only transformed. So there isn't a finite, in terms of the availability of energy. It's just a mentality that says that we're within a closed system and there's restricted access, and that obviously has served a handful of people. And that is being undermined because, of course, this is the 1. This is the shadow of the first gene key, which we are in the south node process of. And then the availability, if you're like, how do I overcome lack mentality? My way, which is very Florence Scovel Shin, the game of life and how to play
it. My God, one of my favorite books.
She's such a legend.
Yeah.
Is spirit finds a way. So whenever I find myself with this lack mentality, like I'm driving to a campsite and I'm like, oh my God, I don't know if they said they were full, there's not going to be a camping space for me. Spirit finds a way, shut up mind, there will be a space when we get there. That pretty much solves all my problems. I don't know if it'll work for everyone, but I'm offering it up as a solution. Whenever I find myself stuck in this, there's not enough for me, I remind myself that spirit finds a way. If it's meant for me, it will be there. There's nothing I need to fear.
It's so beautiful, and instantly makes me think of the Camino, Jenny. It's going to be so much fun. Those moments where we freak out, like, oh my God, we're going too slow, we're going to miss out on a bed, and then we find the bed in the best place, which is a bit off the the beaten track, and meet these amazing people, and you're like, oh, there it is. There's the magic of life.
I am going to be saying that 75 times a day on the Camino.
Yeah, it's okay. I did learn that last time. Like, I freaked out about not having a bed, and it was just like, and there is a saying on the Camino, that the Camino provides.
Camino provides. Yeah. It will provide. Exactly. So whatever it is, whatever Camino you're on, whatever way you're walking, it will find a way for you. And again, look for evidence of it. Believe in it, and then look for evidence and remind yourself, this is such an Emma Dunwoody thing to say. I'm actually turning into you, but like give me a reticular activating system.
Exactly. Get your supercomputer online with your body, and let your body, let's freaking hack it.
And then another thing to say about personal entropy, like that's talking lack mentality in the wider world, but actually there is also personal entropy, like a genuine withdrawal of energy. And if you look at the shadow repressive state, depressed, deep rest, do acknowledge that if you actually do need deep rest, you do take it, because I think the nodes are encouraging many people to go through a reset and a regroup process, and that might not be one day in bed, that might be a little bit longer. So just particularly for non-sacrals, I think we get hit so quickly with this layer of utter exhaustion. I have to, at least 1 or 2 days a month, I have to be in bed with absolutely no plans. I have to literally lie down and wait it out. I have to go through this layer of real, and because it would become depression. If I tried to push through it, I would mentally become very uneasy with it. But when I take deep breaths, within a day or two, I can shift it. It will shift itself, you know?
Yeah, I love that. And there's one other thing I want to say, because I feel like the gene keys, the first gene key was one thing that was really profound for me, especially being, someone who has recovered fully from depression and anxiety. And that is that it's okay. It's okay to feel like you have nothing, you have no energy, that depression state, the depression state itself. That's not, and this is one of the biggest lessons that I learned was I was trying too hard to fix myself, which is what made me go deeper into it, because I was focusing on, oh my God, I'm depressed. Shit, I need to fix it. And I think that there is this part of the one that when I read that, it was like I could hear the angels singing, because I was like, and for an emotional being, like, oh God, yes, that's totally it. Because in that one, there is a spark. And if we're so busy trying to get ourselves out of the depression, we miss the inspiration, the spark, the thing that's like, that's what's worth coming to life for. That's what's worth, creating or whatever it is. So I also love that about the one, that it's like, it's like, don't panic in the entropy. Don't panic. It will shift. It will move.
I mean, I've got a direct quote from His Lordship, Richard Rudd.
Oh, I love it.
From the shadow, which says, when you suddenly find yourself blind and lost, the best thing to do is stay still and let it all pass gently through your system, giving it the minimal attention possible.
Amen to that.
What you got to do. And then mentioning the gift in the city, freshness and beauty. So there is a beauty in there. There is a freshness, a newness in there. That's, the old, when you're in a dark place, you think you've been buried, but you've actually been planted. That feeling, there is a fresh little seed in there somewhere. So if that's the case for you, if you're feeling this, like for me, the entropy is a physical experience. It's like I can barely move my legs. Like I can't move. It's a Herculean effort to get my body to walk to the toilet. Like that's how deep the entropy pulls on me.
Yeah, and it's so interesting just hearing you talk about it, because it's almost like I can resonate with the feeling, yet there is this energy in me that's like guilts me up and moving, so I it's so funny, like, and I can imagine, but I can't know, I can imagine that feeling of not actually being able to pull yourself up to the bathroom. Like that's I love that, because I feel like I'm that much closer to understanding what it's like not having a sacral definition.
Just one day, Emma, give into it. When it says don't move, just be like, yeah, right.
I'm trying.
Imagine.
And it's funny, it's so funny that I'm saying I'm trying. Like I have the 40 in my freaking earth. Do nothing. It's hard.
You've got 2 weeks on holiday.
I've got
just
2
weeks,
like, exactly.
If you feel the entropy rising and sucking you down into its depths, just go in for one day and see what it's like. Because I'm telling you, it's the best.
Yeah, I'm just going to lie starfish on a rug.
Yes, I look forward to Entropy Day now. They're so deep, so profound. So,
okay,
big fan of the Entropy
I'll let
Day.
you know next month how we go.
Okay. And then the second, where we're moving to, the second gene key, I've heard the language of the shadow used quite a lot. Like Russell Brand was talking about people feeling dislocated, which is the shadow, after the death of Queen Elizabeth. My cousin's going through a really, really difficult time now, and she messaged me the other day saying, I feel so lost. I feel so lost. So this feeling of dislocation, like I don't know where I am. My world, like the ground has moved around me, beneath me. I don't know where I am anymore. This is probably being felt at a collective level for anyone that had any kind of identification with the British monarchy holding them in place, which you know.
But that seems really
may
logical,
or may not be
that there would be lots of people, because we live in a time of chaos, and she is this stability. She was this stability. So that makes sense.
Yeah. So this feeling of dislocation, the gift is orientation, as in I do know where I am in space. And this is another trick or key that we use in yoga classes in body work, you know, I was describing earlier, where someone feels like is really, really spinning out, hyperventilating, shaking, really losing control of their physiology, which does happen. And we use a technique called orientation to orientate them. Open your eyes and look around. If you're feeling dislocated, locate, orientate, look at the room you're in, look at the space you're in, as if you've never been in it before. Even if it's your own room and you've been in it thousands of times, look at it with fresh eyes. Register the place you're in. Touch the body, put your hands, rub your hands on your skin and say, I am here and I am safe, especially the legs and feet, because that's very grounding. And then get into water as soon as possible. Get in the shower, get in the pool, get in the sea, get your whole body wet. You will be surprised how fast that locates you. So
I love that.
Yeah, so I think, you know, the rise in kind of cold water swimming is a response, I think, to this, because it locates the body so fast, and the mind, you know, everything comes together.
And how good is it? You know, like, I mean, our water's not cold like your water. I mean, I've been swimming, but we've just started doing the ice bath thing over the last few months. And like, I am known for being a person who doesn't like the cold, but I'm literally the one that runs screaming for the, like, get me out of the sauna and get me into the ice bath. Like, as much as it's not like there's something magical about it. And the moment I get out, I'm like, new human, completely new human. I love it. It's such an invigorating feeling.
Yeah. So if anyone is resonating at that shadow level and feeling dislocated through whatever life events, if you can use those techniques, open your eyes, look around, touch your body, tell yourself you're here and you're safe, and get wet, that's like magic formula for dislocation.
Love it.
And then I'm not actually going to talk about Mars retrograde. I'm going to talk about that next month because it's more relevant. Mars is basically about to go through a load of throat gates and then go retrograde in them, but it's mostly going to happen through November. So we'll talk about that. Is that
going to be like a fiery tongue month?
Maybe. I don't know though. It starts in gate 12, so you know it might be not.
Well, it could be graceful and beautiful and elegant, or a punch to the face.
Outer planets, Pluto and Saturn in October are going direct. Pluto's going direct in gate 61 on the 8th/9th of October. We talked about that on the last podcast, about its last pass through gate 61 and line 6, which is about how the collective responds to who is inspiring or what is inspiring for the collective. I would also say that this is Pluto's last chance, last dip into this. So pay attention to your inner truth. What do you have clarity on? And hold on to it, you know? Once you've got the nugget of your inner truth, just treasure it. Put it in your pocket. Carry it around with you. Trust that you do know.
Trust it. Yeah. Oh my God, did you see what we just did there? We both said trust at the same time. Trust it.
So yeah, this inner truth, like we were just saying about purpose, it's probably not linguistic. You could put language to it, but one of the phrases from the because gate 61 is my core purpose in the activation sequence in the gene key, so I've obviously contemplated it a lot. And it says, as you enter the field of the 61st city, a huge pregnant silence descends and all of your mental activity abruptly ceases, and here inner truth resides. So it's this ability to find the silence, and then you can feel the truth. You don't really hear it, you feel it.
Goosebumps. I love that. That's so beautiful. And I do
so try and find
like
that silence, right?
Yeah.
Find the silence.
Okay. Look, I'm doing it right
Go
now.
on.
See, I'm trying to
Yeah, because truth is not here. Truth is right here.
100%.
Truth is what's actually happening. Truth is. End of sentence. Truth is.
Exactly.
It's really all you need to know.
Yeah. Comes back to that piece, right? It's a feeling. It's a feeling.
And it's not here now. It's right here and right now. It's now. This is true.
Yeah. Yeah.
So just get in contact with the isness of truth as Pluto goes direct. And Saturn direct is in gate 13. So it's been most of its retrograde in gate 49. It's now, moving retrograde in 13, and then it's going to go direct. So when you look at the wheel of the year, you will see that gate 13 is the first gate in the first quarter. It's the first gate in the quarter of initiation. And it's the gate of deep listening with your whole body. So in the past 2 years, Saturn has been, again, if you look at the wheel of the year, rocking back and forth around the newness. Like when we do the rave new year, it's this, you go into 41, and then so you've got 61, 60, 41, 19, and then you get into gate 13. So this Saturn's been in this whole process, closing off the quarter of mutation. It's now it's in the new quarter for good. It's not going back over the line. It's not going back into the quarter of mutation anymore. It's in. Since January, it's been dancing back and forth between the first 3 gates of the first quarter. So 13, 49, and 30. So now it's having its last pass through 13. Saturn, the restrictions, the borders, the governance, the status quo, the way things have always been done, it's having its last pass through the gate of deep listening.
Wow. Goosebumps. Because that's really where we're at, right? And I think that's such wisdom. Instead of navigating this time of transformation, and again, it's exactly what human design teaches us, instead of navigating it from the mind, navigate it from the body, listening with the body. And how do we listen with the body? In the most simplest form, through the frame of human design: authority, authority, authority.
And if you think about that process of 13 into 49, it's like it's coming back to 13 and going, has everyone's story been told? Has everyone had the opportunity to speak? Because we're going to start revolutionizing the principles around the tribe in a minute. So make sure, speak now or forever hold your peace, as my great grandmother used to say. Yeah. This feeling like if you haven't shared your story, do it now. Yeah. You want people to know about it. October, let me just check. You have until
give me the deadline.
9th of November to speak your truth.
I love that.
Yeah. And I mean, that's what social media has enabled, right? It's enabled the voice of all to be heard.
Some has. Some's been pretty heavily edited, but yes, this is absolutely
in principle.
Exactly.
In theory.
Exactly. And you know what, I think sometimes you and I, we love the big picture, we love, the spiritual through lines and all that sort of stuff, but we also love to bring it back down to earth. Our line 5s want to make it really practical for you guys. So this could just be like, say to your partner the thing that you've never said, like that you need to say. Now's the time. Or if something's a real challenge, and it's a challenge because there's some trauma that you've not shared or faced or had help with, now's the time. Like even the little things, like it just makes me think of this funny story where when Justin and I first started dating, his favorite flavor of ice cream is strawberry, right? So if he was going to get me ice cream, he'd get me strawberry. And one time he bought me ice cream and I'm like, I don't like strawberry. Like, if you just have to tell someone you love that you don't like strawberry ice cream, then this is the time. But this is also the time for those bigger things, like if you want to get out of the corporate and into something different, do it. If you're one of these people that have transitioned into entrepreneurship and actually it's not for you and you're like, shit, maybe I do actually want to have a job, now's the time to actually do it. Whatever it is, like, it's time. Do it. To when? We've got the 9th of November. Okay.
Yeah. So all of October is basically this awareness of what truth are we not speaking? What is the deep thing that we need to say? Because it's 13, it's it's pointing at the throat, and it's listening to I guess the little parts of ourselves that we've been in denial of, that we've been hoping weren't true but really are true. And if we can just turn towards them, then I mean the shadow, the Gene Keys shadow for the 13 is the shadow of discord, and this is the inability to escape your past. This feeling, I mean, we're talking about optimist, pessimist. It's the pessimist that looks at all the shitty things that have happened to you in the past and doesn't believe that the future is going to be any better. It's like all this terrible stuff happened to me, and I'm fucked up for the rest of my life. And as you and I both know, that is absolutely not the case.
Not
Transformation is 100% possible. Healing is 100% possible. I would even say it is our birthright.
I agree.
And so just understanding that when we're creating our destiny, fearing is a form of wishing. And so the old adage, be careful what you wish for.
100%.
Be careful what you fear of. Be careful what you're fearful of. And look for these green shoots of the transformation that's happening. Give yourself the new eyes to look at and new ears to listen for, the beautiful potentiality that awaits you and all of us.
I love that. The new sunrise.
Yeah, it's like Emma says she's attuned to the future, and me too. Like the 57, they talk about, because it's called the gentle wind. It's double wind in the trigrams. Both the trigrams are wind, and the wind blows from the future, and we get a sense of what is coming on the wind. And it doesn't. I'm not afraid of what I smell on the wind, or what I hear on the wind at all.
Same.
I trust it completely, and I'm excited for it. So if we can all just stop with the belief that humans are going to destroy themselves and the planet and start resting on the best of ourselves that we know to be true, because trusting our innate goodness is actually trusting in something that's true. We are innately good.
Yeah.
Well,
we are innately good because we're a part of the entire ecosystem of planet Earth, the universe. We're here. We are life itself. Yeah. So when we can trust it, that's when the magic happens. That is when the magic happens.
Yeah,
love it.
So rallying cry to the optimist army.
Yeah, let's do it. And again, this isn't spiritual bypass. This isn't Pollyanna. This isn't ignoring. This is a choice. This is the choice that everyone has in every moment to attribute a meaning to something that is moving us towards something greater, as opposed to toward fear. So yeah. Cool.
It's like we have this this tendency towards a binary, like either or, and I would just say it's both. It's always both.
Well, it has
it's
to
like,
be.
It's yes.
We
it's
live
not
in
like
polarity.
Exactly. It's paradoxical. It's yes and this and that both together. It's like Emma says about us not bypassing. It's not love and light to the exclusion of shadow. It's both.
Yeah.
It's the wholeness. It's all of us. It's all present, and just which way are you looking?
Exactly. And it's that
piece doesn't matter.
Exactly. It's that piece, like the thing that with shadow work that frustrates me about people who work on their shadow all the time. Stop looking at your shadow all the time like there's something wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with you. You've just popped your shadow over in a corner over there. All you got to do is invite her in and come over here and integrate. That's all we got. We've got to bring it in. But it's we don't want to get rid of it. And it's that's where, we are everything. We're not just, as you say, love and light. We are everything. I had this conversation about in one of the mastermind groups this week about the shadow, and we were talking about Debbie Ford. And in my opinion, Debbie Ford is the only absolute shadow guru. I know there's a lot of people peddling a lot of shadow work out there, but if it's good, it's founded on her work. I think she's amazing. So I just want to, and if you're wondering what I'm talking about, it's a book. Debbie Ford's not with us anymore, but she wrote the most incredible book. It's called The Dark Side of the Light Chasers. I always recommend people get it on Audible because there's meditations within the book. I mean, you can read the book as well, whatever. It's amazing. And I was having this conversation this week where she was talking about the first meditation that you do with Debbie Ford in the book, where you go down to the basement and you meet your shadow. And when I did that, it was the scariest image I have ever seen. And to the point where my coach, she's as much as she's sort of, works on mindset, she's also very, very spiritual. She's very connected. And one time she was, in communication with my team, and she's like, wow, there's this really I don't want to say ugly but scary face. I'm like, oh, that's just my shadow. And still to this day, I remember when I first met her and she scared the shit out of me. And to this day, when I do shadow work and I go down and I find my shadow, because a lot of other people's shadow will transform and look beautiful and all this sort of stuff. Mine doesn't. Mine still looks exactly the same. She's terrifying, but I fucking love her. Whenever I go down there and I see her, I'm like, come on, let's go. And I grab her hand and I'm like, come on, let's go and look at this, look at that. Because that was something that I was always afraid of, my ugliness, my darkness, my evil, those sort of things. And we are all of it. It's only in separation that when we make things right or wrong, when we're in that binary. But when we actually understand that we can't have the extreme beauty, we can't have the fucking sunrise without the shadow. And then all of a sudden there's nothing to be afraid of, because it's us, it's part of us. Just like we're a part of nature, we're a part of everybody, you know, we are, you are me and I am you and all of that stuff. So yeah, rant over, but love what you're saying. Love what you're saying.
Well, that's all I'm saying, Emma. I'm done.
Beautiful. Well, I have managed to tire our beautiful projector friend out with my puppy MG. I've had a rest all day. I've been sitting in a car. Now what can we do? Now what can we do? Energy. Jen, thanks so much. This has been such a beautiful conversation, and so grateful for you. So thank you for being here.
Thanks, darling.
And thank you everyone for listening. Again, we have banged on for close to 2 hours, but we trust that there is value for everyone. And I want to say a huge thank you, as Jenni does, I think nearly every week, to all of you who reach out. I want to say a huge thank you to all of you who leave 5-star reviews, who reach out to us and tell us how much you love these episodes. We do them for you, you know, we do them for each other so we can spend time with each other, obviously, but we also do them for you because we love that you're geeking out on all of this experiment as much as we are geeking out on this experiment. So thank you for being here and listening, because this wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you. So thank you. I'm going to let you all go. I'm going to let Jen continue on her adventure. I'm going to go and continue on my adventure. And everyone have an amazing day, week, whatever. And I look forward to having you all on the next podcast. Bye for now.
Thanks everyone for being here all the way to the end of the podcast. I hope you got lots of value out of it. I certainly had a lot of fun doing it. Could I please ask that you share this podcast with friends if you found it valuable? And also, bonus points, could you leave a review for me as well on Apple? It would be greatly appreciated. If at any point you would like to be on the podcast, or you've got questions that you'd like me to discuss on the podcast, by all means get on my socials and DM me. Everything you need is there in the show notes. Have an awesome day. Bye for now.